So this is kind of a follow-up from my previous webinar, which I'll allude to a little bit, and we'll be able to put the links in as well if you want to go back and watch it if you weren't there before. Hello to Germany. Um, so yes, I don't want to go into the sort of technicalities of the psychology behind a cold email because we did that in the last webinar. So what we'll do is we'll send the link to that whenever we do the follow-up slides for this, just so that you have that there. Today is more about the practicalities of writing a cold email. Get everyone. Still more people coming in, but I'll go on ahead here anyway, and people can just join us as they're coming in. Welcome everyone again. So today, who should be here? So this in particular is for sales marketing product people who are doing scientific outreach. So there'll be a lot of talk about reaching out to people in the life sciences or our industry. In theory, it does apply to everyone who wants to actually write emails or LinkedIn's or do phone calls. So no problem if you're not quite from our industry, but I think most of us are. But that's what we're going to be focusing on today because the scientists are a particular breed, to be honest. They do sort of respond slightly differently to outreach. So for those of us selling there, we need to know exactly how to craft our emails to them. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about why we're here. We're going to do a brief recap of the anatomy of a good outreach email. As I say, I'll not go into that. I'll not repeat my previous webinar. We'll give that link there. It'll be more an add-on to that. We're going to look at example templates of good old outreach in terms of how you outreach to scientists, how to follow up effectively, do's and don'ts. I'll try to not get too animated about my don'ts. Examples in the wild, and then you guys have been submitting over the last few days and hopefully in real time your messages that you want us to rewrite then in real time. So I have Sophie on the call with me here today. What she's going to do is man the Q&A box, take your anonymous examples and put them at the end of the slides so that when we get there, we'll be able to see your lovely content as well. So feel free to pop them in as well and do that as we're going through the slides. Do put in your questions there. We'll get to those as well. And I know that half the questions are going to be, is this being recorded? Will you share your slides? So we'll get that covered now. Yes, it's being recorded. And yes, we'll share the slide deck for both this one and the previous one as well, because I will allude to that. So why are we here? I had a pretty interesting eye-opening experience because I was at Elric Drug Discovery. And why that was unique is Elric Drug Discovery have all of the attendees that they share with the exhibitors. So I started as an attendee receiving the emails that a scientist would normally receive when they attend a conference. And I wouldn't normally have such visibility on the emails that are going out there. I maybe thought that people were tailoring their emails and it was a bit of an eye-opening experience. Given that as well, those that were at Elric Drug Discovery all had access to the entire attendees, but also all of the silage data, which showed you their scientific information, how to personalize your outreach. All of that was handed on a plate. And yet I was getting so many emails from that were just sort of generic. And honestly, I'm not a scientist. If you had a look at my profile, it's so obvious that I'm not a scientist. So all of these emails that I received and my team received were basically a waste of money for anyone that was sending them to us and a wasted opportunity because if we had tailored those emails properly to the people that were in Alberg, which some people did, then you would have got a much better response, a much better ROI at the show. And there's a joke one actually that kind of made me laugh because it's exactly what I was thinking when I received it because we were getting so many of these Alberg emails, all of the attendees would have been. So you really needed to rise above the noise. So what we're going to talk about today is how we could have done that better so that we can do better going forward, not just for trade shows, but for all of our cold outreach and sort of what works, what doesn't work, and what is particular to scientists. So sort of recap the structure of what is a good email. The first thing first is if you want to do personalized one-to-one outreach, it needs to be plain text. And I know it looks boring, but honestly, it gets such a better response. You know yourself, as soon as you open an email and you see the beautiful images, if you're like me, you just close it and move on because it's not really to you. Whereas if you open an email that has plain text, you're much, much more likely to respond to that. So the first thing that we need to talk about is the subject line. Because honestly, if they don't open the email, what's the point? It doesn't, like, why would we put loads of effort into the body of the email if they're not even going to open it? So personalized line. Now, I've even put personalize in as a Z as I do because a lot of these webinars are attended primarily with those from the US. So I tailor realistically covers most of what people are going to be looking at. So I've also screenshotted what it looks like on my desktop and what it looks like on my phone. So there's a few things that you can change. Your name you can't change. What you can do is make sure that it actually says your name and not your email address, which happens actually quite frequently. So that's the first thing. The subject line is huge. What I recommend and what we'll talk about now is if you can find something really specific to them, a publication that they've done, a trade show, a grant, anything that says, I have read your research and I am specifically sending this to you. So you can see here, I've taken one of the SFN posters for CRISPR and I wanted to reach out to say, I read your poster. It's funny, I wanted to say I was so annoyed I missed it and I want to have a Zoom call now that we're back, but it came up in actually quite a fun way. So you can imagine that that person is definitely going to open that email because they're going to want to know what I was so annoyed about. And they're going to want to know why I'm referencing that poster that they literally just did today, actually at Neuroscience. If you have a photo as well uploaded in your Gmail, that will make you more human, make it more likely they're going to respond to you as well. So the subject line, have a think about what you can do there. I have some examples coming up to say how you can tailor that in. We just have no excuse to not personalize our emails. The industry that we work in, we have such an array of publicly available data. We have Google Scholar, we have NIH Reporter for the grants, we have LinkedIn. You know, there's so much out there in terms of their research. We really have no excuse not to personalize our outreach. Let's face it as well, all of us here basically have access to stylies unless you're like a one person startup and can't afford it. Basically, everyone has access to it now. So now everyone has it. You kind of need to rise up because just having the data doesn't really give you a leg up anymore. Your competitors have that access as well. So actually being able to use that data, personalize your outreach and get a better response is even more important than it even used to be. So whenever we come to actually personalizing our emails, we don't want to just talk about your stuff, your generic stuff, like why your microscope is the best. We want to talk about why it's the best for them. Like, you know what poster they presented at LRIG or neuroscience or whatever we're reaching out to. You can pull that data in, and that's going to get them much more excited because you're talking about them and why it's useful for them. I see it all the time as well, and we'll see it in some of the real life examples, is we kind of ask them to do the work. So it's like, go to my website and you'll see how it's relevant. No, you tell me why it's relevant. You know why you reached out to me. You know why it's relevant to me. Send me the bit that is relevant to me and like don't make me have to do the work. And what is just that if the only thing that you walk away from today is your call to action, the amount of emails, and we'll see this in the wild in a second when we go through, that are, you know, book a slot with me, let me know if you want to have a chat, real passive call to action. So we want to talk about the call to actions today. I go into it in more detail as well in the psychology of the cold outreach webinar, but being able to have a specific singular call to action, that means the customer doesn't need to think. You're literally putting on a plate for them. You're not putting on them to even say when suits. You're literally saying, does Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday morning suit you? And the reason why I write it in that way is I want to show that I'm really busy, but I do have two slots remaining, Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday morning. And that means that you could have the whole day available, but everyone then it's slot in the Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday morning. So we'll talk about this more when we look at the examples, but having a clear call to action is so important. And the sign off, like the whole body of the email is important. So whenever I'm reaching out to Americans, I use my American number. Whenever I'm reaching out to Europeans, I use my European number. If it is at all possible for it to come from a scientist rather than a salesperson, if you have a scientific background and you're able to put that in there, that will make it much more likely that they'll respond to you as well, just because scientists like speaking to scientists, and that's just the way it is. So if it were me and I were reaching out to someone in LRIG, I would have gone onto the portal that was provided by LRIG, typed in that I want someone that's going to be talking about microscopy is because that's what I have my hat on at the moment. Taking the subject line of their poster, their literal thing that they're going to be there to present. So of course they're going to open that email because they don't know why you're messaging about it. Address it directly to them. Talk about why I reached out because I saw that you did the poster at Elrig. I wasn't able to make it, or I was, and you were doing this before. It doesn't matter. But I'm the person to speak to at, your local college or whatever, your institution or your company, whatever it is. Happy face. Now, what that does is it shows like it is you're a real life person. Like no one puts happy faces into their marketing emails. Like feel free to throw them in there because it really does help whenever you're just humanizing it, making sure that you're not a bot. And every time you're writing an email, just be like, I'm not a bot. I'm not a bot. I'm not a bot. This isn't a generic email. I literally want to speak to you about that particular poster. Again, with the call to action, one singular call to action at the very end of the email ends in a question mark. And I've even like done the Tuesday in lowercase because if this were like a polished marketing email, a marketer would have said to you, oh, you need to fix that. Keep the mistakes in. There's a pretty now famous example of when I completely mucked up what trade show I was going to because I was going to too many at the time. And I said, I'll see you in DC, but it was like neuroscience in San Diego or something. The number of emails I got back to say, oh, you're an idiot. It's not going to be in DC. It's going to be in San Diego. But I literally made 3 sales from that email alone, just from that mock-up. So feel free to make a mistake, no big deal. It just shows that you're human and people actually respond. One example that someone told me before that if you make a typo at the beginning of the email, it increases the likelihood that the email's written or read the entire way down because people love looking for typos to catch it out. So if you make one, they spend the rest of the time trying to find more. So send that through, don't worry. That is a great template if you're reaching out at a trade show. It's clear, it's clean, it's specific to them. There will be other examples where you're not going to be at a trade show. So emerging biotech is an example. We track the data in terms of who's getting funding. And even if you don't have access to CTAs, I actually send it out a lot of it in a newsletter as well. Not as all of the contact details or anything, but you get some high level information there. You can get it in other places like Crunchbase, which we integrate with. But you can basically see who's just come out of stealth mode. You can see who fundraised. And because Silence has it, all of the scientific information, you'll be able to see who's relevant to you. Reaching out to them. Now, in this case, I chose their partner that they've just raised the money with as the subject line because that's going to get their attention. It shows that you've done a bit of deeper digging. And again, they're going to wonder why you just mentioned them because they just literally got that seed round last week. So they're going to want to open that. You're going to tailor it to them because customized like call to actions and customized tailoring shows that you get a much better response. You're saying that you've worked with an early stage biotech in their industry before, and you'll link to the actual link. You'll not get them to go and do digging themselves. You'll actually send them what you want to talk to them about. And then again, just our normal call to action from our application specialist. I should actually have my contact signature down there as well to show that I'm a real life person. That is going to get a really good response. And in fact, one of our customers, Arima, did exactly that with our biotech updates, our biopharma updates. They took all of the new people that were funded that week and they sent an email out tailored in that way. And they got 17% of people replied to their very first email before they even did any follow-ups. And they made a bunch of POs from it. So it really, really works to tailor that outreach. And those customers that are just getting this funded, they're open to these things. They have money. They need to do the research. They need your products. They're open to getting these emails as well. Equally, if it's an academic that's received a grant, similar idea, take the grant name, pop it in the subject line. They're going to want to open that because they've got it. And then you can reference maybe a publication where someone else has done something similar and reference your product. Scientists love reading other people's publications. That's your best way to get references. And it means that they'll do their own sort of digging there and read that before then they come back to you. But again, you're saying, you're free next week. You're not saying, are you free to chat about it or would you like to chat about it? You're sort of assuming that they want to. You don't want to put doubt in with your own words. So I'm free. How does Tuesday afternoon or Monday look for you at the minute? I think sometimes people think that's a little bit forward because I know a lot of us have a sort of scientific background and maybe don't come from a classical sort of sales background or marketing background. But if you start to say things like, do you think this would be of interest? Or if this is interesting, maybe we can, you're already stating that doubt for yourself for your with your own language. So just being, forward, assuming that they'll be interested in what you have to sell and just being confident in your product works really well as well. Again, publication with a competitor, so you can search through the method and material sections on the publications and find who's using your competitor products. And you can reference that particular publication. I noticed you were using, this will work probably better for those of you that sell consumables, but I know actually that our capital equipment folk, they use this to actually look up who bought a piece of equipment 7 years ago. And then they reach out because, the way everyone's meant to replace their equipment every 7 years, they'll reach out and say, hey, I see that this was 7 years ago. Are you in the market for a new product? But particularly if you sell the like the consumables and you want to maybe misplace or another person in there, being able to outreach and see who's already in there would be really helpful. And equally for those of you that sell sort of complementary things to other companies, it's a nice way to look up where they have products and then you can add on to those as well. And again, reference their actual scientific articles. Sorry, I am going to be a slight broken record in that bit. The same for if you're visiting them in the location. If you're going to GSK and Stevenage, being able to say that you're going to be there, you're being there with their colleagues, so you're in demand, people are interested in meeting with you, and then you reference their actual product as well or their actual publication because you literally care about what they're interested in, you tailor it to your product, and then again you do your check with your 2 slots remaining because you're not probably actually meeting with their colleague yet. This is your email to actually create the meetings in the first place. So you want to do 2 slots and then that way you can fill those up. And even better if you have to send a follow-up email to say, oh, the slots are now gone. Sorry, but I'm going to add on an extra day for Thursday. Does Monday afternoon work? Then that works too, as well as a follow-up. So stop sending emails to me because I'm not relevant. I'm not going to buy your product. And it's definitely like just a waste of your money and your efforts. And all of your stats are going to be mucked up. Every single email that I read is too long. Go through it and see if you can get words down. Don't write anything without a call to action. And we'll talk about this more in a second. Stop asking them to do the work. I said them to book via your meeting link. Give them literally no space to think. Just give them one option and get them to be able, it should be so easy for them to respond. Try to imagine them, they're really busy. They're in a lab or they're on the road and they're reading it on their phone. Give them as easy an answer as they possibly can to reply to you so that you can get that meeting in. And stop taking away from the questions. So what I mean by this, and this is like such a bugbear of mine, people will write these beautiful emails and we're the same in Siley. We'll write these emails and then we'll say at the end, would Tuesday work for a call? And then I'm like, okay, perfect, leave it, leave it. And you can see their wee face shaking and they're like, let me know if you have any questions. And it's like, no, just leave that question hanging there because then it's rude if they don't reply to you. What's this need to like take away from the question just by writing something in after? Just leave the question hanging there. I know it's awkward. That's meant to be awkward. That's why they will actually respond to you. So just if you take away anything, it's that every single email you send should have a question mark at the very end and nothing after that. Right. I can see that there are loads of things being submitted, which is fabulous. And Sophie, you're on that. So I will go on ahead with follow-ups. So this is mostly if, say, you did a cold outreach and you got a bite, or you visited someone already, or you know that they got a grant and chatted to them, or you saw them at a trade show, and you're doing the follow-up emails, but they've stopped replying to you. There's a few tips that you can do that will really help getting things like to move along again. Like one thing not to do in your follow-ups is asking if they received your email. Of course they received your email. It's like my mum, she texts me and then she rings me being like, did you get my text? Yes, I got your text. Just like, don't need to ring me to check. They did receive your email. They're just busy or they didn't want to reply to it, but it's just a really weak follow-up. Saying just follow up another one of my absolute pet hates. Just follow up. You're already taking away from the importance of your email, like yourself. You're literally saying, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'm just following up." I mean, I put this in the same bucket of just a quick nudge, just a kind reminder. All you're kindly reminding me is that I didn't bother replying to you the first time. Why would I even read to see whether I should actually reply again? I've already made my decision. If you can just refrain from typing that, that would be really helpful for me. If that is the second thing that we do after this, is that we take that out of all of our emails, then I will be much happier. Saying just in general in your emails, don't do it. Why would you say I'm just doing this? Just a quick one, just a note. You're just, I know I just said just, but you're taking away from like what you're actually trying to say to someone and telling them that it's not important. So let's just remove the word just from our emails. And maybe and could and should and perhaps and potentially and all of these weird words that we randomly put in our emails, like I was thinking that, or I think that our product could help with this, or just that our product will help with this. Like try to just go through your email and scan for those words and remove them. I can guarantee you the sentence will still make sense if you remove that word, but it will make it a more powerful sentence. Laura's banned words. There is a balance when it comes to doing follow-ups as well. So you don't want to just write one word like thought question mark is just a disgusting follow-up. Like you haven't put any effort into following it up. Why would they put in any effort into reading your follow-up? But equally, repeating everything that you've just said isn't useful either. So you've got the text, like your lovely email that you've sent all of your lovely call to action with underneath. Send one email above that then that just has the hi and then one line of call to action. And that call to action might be, uh, what did you think of the case study I sent you? Question mark, something like that. Just one clear call to action question. If you're dying to do two to call to actions, don't, because you probably actually need to do another follow up anyway. Keep that in your back pocket and do that for the next one. Now, what you shouldn't do is keep all of your emails underneath each other. If you're like torturing them, what you want to do is you want to go back to your original one each time so that you've only got one follow up each time and it doesn't take them very long to look down and see the body of it as well. Don't include more than one call to action and don't CC multiple people. So this actually happened with one of my colleagues this week where they were following up an email and there were three people in the call originally. And it is actually kind of an example of writing a book as well. The action was that the new department is going to trial sci leads and they're giving us a list of the people that want to trial. So the first email was great speaking to you, and one thing they did right was let us know who the people are that you want to trial, which isn't quite a question. So that was sort of the first mistake. But in the follow-up, then they kind of summarized it all again. They said, "Oh, hey, I'm getting back in touch because you were going to send a list of blah 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 blah." No, literally just one line. Hey, who are the people that I need to set up? Question mark. And actually, funny they'd written like, "Can you send me?" No, don't give them the option that they can or can't. Just who are they? Question mark. They had let it kind there. Send. And then don't send it to all three of those people because firstly, that's the worst way to get nobody to reply because everyone will think everybody else is going to do it. And also, if you send it individually to them, you sort of get three bites at the pie. So you can send it to the first person the first day, no one replies. Send it to the second person the second day. Send it to the third person. Don't just throw it all out at once. Get yourself three options. Otherwise, you have to think of like three different emails to send. So I would split up those emails for sure to make sure that you're sending individually to one person. Stop stopping. So like last year we needed to outsource some of our marketing function just to keep up with everything that's going on here. So I put budget together for an agency to help us. And we found an agency, did loads of calls with them. They were a perfect fit. And I said, okay, this is great. We will start this in January. We just need to tidy up our HubSpot for you to be able to actually do something. Contact me in January. First mistake they made was they contacted me on Boxing Day, which is really annoying because it's a bank holiday here in Ireland. I told them January, so it kind of was annoying. So check who you're emailing and what time zone they're in and whether they're off because nobody wants an email when they're off. But that was fine. And then they did message in January, but in January I was really busy because I was just back, so I just didn't reply to them. The other thing that they did was I had said to them, do it in January because Rachel needs to sort her HubSpot and Rachel will be the one doing it. And yet they kept coming back to me. And even though it was me not replying to them and I'd already told them that she was the one actually actioning, they never at any stage messaged her. They never at any stage picked up the phone and just rang me, and I would have answered it. It was my email was signature was right there. I would have answered and be like, so sorry, we are going to do it. It's in the budget. I just need a second. And actually, what happened there was they never bothered following up again. And my friends spun out on his own as an agency in like May and got the gig. And that person that was the person that convinced us that we needed it never got it because they didn't pick up the phone. So that is a big thing as well. I know we're talking about emailing here, but emailing, LinkedIn, ringing people, once you've done all the hard work of putting all those beautiful emails in, they are probably seeing them. They're just, they might be busy. It doesn't mean they're not interested. So if you can just keep at them, keep following up with new information, if you can possibly put new stuff in, and this is where tracking their new publications, tracking the new trade shows, that you have new content every single time that you're doing the follow up is really helpful. For us, if we see that someone's doing a webinar or something, referencing that webinar that we'd be able to help with that or something like that, that's really helpful to just keep doing. Someone said to me, I really love your emails. They're politely persistent, which is kind of the vibe. I really liked it actually, because that's the vibe I'm going for, is like, I'm not going to give up until I'm kind of told to go away, but I'm adding value every single time that I'm sending that email. And I'm going to do the experiments. I'm committed to it. I'm going to try to follow up with people because I know for a fact I get people in like the 30th touch point, and I want to do the statistics to see when that actually happens. So a few do's and don'ts, then we'll get into the actual email. So if you're trying to get people to register and things, don't imply that nobody's done it or meeting. So not last chance to register. If you haven't already registered, just means that people think that everyone else has done it and they're not in the minority. Don't say, are you still interested? You're just closing the door on yourself. Is now a better time to chat about this? It's happening a lot right now. People are saying, let's talk after the holidays, let's talk in January. Absolutely, you're not going to force them, and you're going to annoy them if you try to like force the issue, but perfect. While you have them, get that booked in, because if you let them go off and go on all of their like nights out or whatever, by the time January comes around, it's going to have be much harder to get that going again. So get that booked in right now, and they can obviously reschedule it if they need to. Don't say, let me know if I can help. How can I help? It's direct questions. Let me know actually anything doesn't really ever work. It's too passive, and it typically is actually taking away from your question at the end. I see this a lot as well. Like, let me know if you have any issues. Why would you randomly raise that there might be issues? Just randomly put negative doubt in. So yeah, have you any questions? I'm free all afternoon. Absolutely not. No, you're not. You're very busy. You're very important. Two remaining slots. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at my proposal. No. What did you think of the proposal? And yeah, don't use random words that you wouldn't say in your life. Just read your email. It was like one of my colleagues wrote something about like having the propensity to do something. I'm like, have you ever said that word in your entire life? No, get it out of your email. Read your email, see if it's normal, the way you would actually speak, and then yeah, send it. And don't worry about being perfect. Emojis, mistakes, they just humanize you. If you're Irish and can get away with it and you can throw a wee curse word in there, then that works too. It just makes it more that it's not a bot that was writing to you, basically. And don't repeat stuff. So things are generally too long. If you can, just read back through it again and take out any superfluous words that you don't actually need and get it a lot shorter. It will always be better if it's succinct. Here are a few real life examples that were sent to us during LRIG. I have done my very best to block anything that makes them people be able to see, although people might know their own ones. First things first, it was sent to undisclosed recipients, so they've obviously just got put the entire list in. Please don't be this guy. It's very easy, even through Outlook and Gmail and free mail merge tools, to hide that and send them individually. Or you've got things like Glamlist and Reply.io and, obviously MailChimp and HubSpot and all that lovely stuff. We could probably do an entire webinar on tech stack, so that's for another day. But just doing the mail merge. I mean, in this case, they said whether we chatted or missed each other. I mean, that's pretty, you want to have a list for the people that you chatted to, a list that you missed. So no tailoring. What we want to do is tailor the message, and then you can see at the end, there's your example of just booking yourself if you want to speak. So we want to have a call to action that doesn't mean that the customer needs to self-serve for themselves. This one I actually really like. So they've already done a bit of work here, so you've probably already seen that we started stuff on socials and sent you emails. Perfect, multi-touch, love it. Wanted to personally drop you a note, plain text, stunning. We work with a company like yours. Okay, they didn't filter for I don't need in-house quality control testing, but fine. And then they included cake, which is like awesome because I can't think of anyone that doesn't love cake. And yet there's no actual call to action here. Just looking forward to seeing you here. Let me know if you'd like something in the diary. It's two call to actions. Let me know if you need something in the diary or swinging by the booth. Too many options. There's no question here. How do I respond? How do I set up a meeting? How can they even see the ROI in this email because they don't know who's actually come by because of it? So apart from the people that like arrive at the booth that say we're here for the cake. But so it's almost there. Just a few tweaks. This one I reckon is the best one that I received, which is, they'd originally sent one, then did a follow-up and said, just finalizing my schedule. Don't really like the beginning, the just, because again, it's taken away. But anyway, I am finalizing my schedule. I wouldn't necessarily say you're curious, open chatting. And again, there's sort of two call to actions here. The other thing they've done is not let that question hang there. So if it were me, I would actually have just dropped all of this. Are you free to have a chat? Question mark. Leave it because you sent it to me. I'm hopefully relevant. You don't need to take away from the question mark by adding that extra thing in. One thing I wanted to do, and obviously this you can see all the branding in this one. I really like this email, and I kind of want to point out that I'm not saying don't send these beautiful marketing emails. They have their place, 100% they do, for brand awareness, to get for newsletters, to get them out there. What I'm saying is actually supplement that with your direct outreach. So here's a lovely example where they actually send through their feature publications and lovely brands and marketing. What I would do then is follow up the next week with that publication. I would look for anyone that is relevant that does, spinal cord organoids, and I would write them a message, hey, and I put their publication at the top in the subject. Hey, first name, I read your publication insert, and I thought you'd really love to read this. Are you free for a chat to talk about it more, or would you like an introduction to the author, or whatever your call to action is there? Being able to do that double touch point. I had a call on Monday and one of our customers, and they said, I'm really worried because now that marketing have access to style leads and all of sales have access, what if marketing sends an email and the next week the salesperson in the territory sends a direct outreach? How do we control that? And it's like, why would you want to? That's literally perfect. That's how things should work. Marketing should be sending these lovely brands and stuff. And then the sales team should be sending the one-to-one outreach. And hopefully, if they see both, they're much more likely to respond to the one-to-one outreach because they've seen the beautiful branding and they know that you're trusted and they know that you're legitimate. So that isn't a bad thing at all. It's only a good thing that you get these sort of multi-touch points. And if they've seen an ad as well at the same time or read a blog, that's even better. Right. So Sophie's telling me that there's tons of these, so I need to hurry up and get to it. So we're here now. So I'm going to run through your lovely submitted examples here and we can and edit them as we go. So this one actually was submitted to me this morning, so I have already seen it. And this was sent to one of our customers before PEGS Europe last week. The first thing I'll say is they have put in an automated Dear Doctor, and that is not great because not everyone is a doctor, and that's the best way to offend people. So I would do hi first name, and I've learned that actually personally the hard way from making the same mistake. They then talk about, the different mechanisms or the different things that they do. It isn't tailored to me at all, even though they would have the details for pegs and what I actually work on. I suppose you're interested, I'd love to arrange a call. And again, they kind of said, I hope we can start a meeting, but there's no question, there's no call to action, there's no actual ask, there's nothing for me to actually do here. So we could We need to tailor it to the actual person. We need to reference what they're doing at pegs. And we need to make sure that there's actual call to action here at the end for them to actually respond and set up the meeting. And this was actually submitted by one of our clients about an hour ago, and he said unfortunately couldn't make this webinar, but could we have a look through his and suggest updates? So as you can see already, it is very long. There's some lovely stuff in here, but it is very long. So, dear researcher, probably not. Hi, first name. We have the details here, so there's no reason to not reference it. They find that there's Western blotting, guys, so they are tailoring it, but they're not actually referencing the bit where the customer referenced the Western blotting. So we're kind of doing half the job here. So having the subject again is where they mention Western blot will give you more likely that they're going to actually open this. We need to remove some of this text because it's just far too long, as interesting as it all is. What is really nice though is we are actually referencing here, we're asking for a reference site in Umeå. I can never say that. But they've referenced in Sweden that they've got other systems there. So that is really good because you're tailoring it to your audience here. So, but then it's just everyone does the exact same thing. You have a nice call to action here, and then you just take away from it from all these other things. So I would delete all of this. And again, here's my online agenda link to schedule a meeting. They're just don't put it on them. Fine to say you can, if you want to book in with me here or does Tuesday work? I mean, it's two call to action, so I don't really like it. What I tend to do is have a clear call to action at the bottom, and then in my signature, I'll have a book a meeting. So if people want to self-serve, they've got that option, but your call to action is clear and it's got a set thing. So this is almost there, but it's just too long. People are just going to read that and yeah, not reply. So again, very sort of generic here in terms of the outreach, doesn't actually explain why they're reaching out to me or the person in particular. And there you go again, just wondering if you've seen my previous message. Would you like a call to discuss further? So it's two questions, two call to actions. And then again, just it's going to be so common. You have a question mark and then you just take away from it. In the meantime, do this. Leave the question at the end. This one, it says what it says in the tin. There's a very clear call to action. The only thing I would add is tailoring it to the person. So mentioning why you're reaching out to them. Why did you send me it? Why did I mention multiomics? And that makes me want to be interested in an ebook. But I do actually just like that it's sort of to the point and download this and they know what they're doing. This is another one of these come and see us at the booth. But again, I mean, there's just no reason to have that color. It could just be plain text. You don't need to have all the different text. Just write it like you're writing it to a person. Again, here where we're going to be, and we look forward to seeing you there. There's no clear call, no clear ask. You're asking them to do the work here. So really what we want to do is write it directly to the person, why you're reaching out to them in particular, and this is what I think you'll be interested in. Are you free to join us? Question mark. Leave it, walk away, nothing more. And then follow up. Oh, did they not? Let me see, there should be more. Sophia, are there more to go through?
There are. I've added, I think we're at 15 now. So if you just want to hit refresh on the slides, they should pop through to you.
Refresh. Function next 5. No. Let's stop sharing my screen a second in case I completely share something. We did wonder if doing this in real time would work. Never done this before. Okay, we're good. Here, let me just share my screen again.
This is a great example of don't be perfect all the time. Show you're not a bot.
Yeah, we're totally real life people that have never done this before. Just laugh at us. It's fun. Okay, so hi, hope you're doing well. I'm with. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. Okay, so again, you are telling them what you're doing, but you're not telling them why you're reaching out to them. You're making them do the work to say that I would be interested in digital PCR. You're not literally saying, hey, I see that you do digital PCR. so this would be really interesting for you. Here's some information and here's someone that has done that in the thing. Would you be open for a quick chat? Again, I don't mind the quick actually, even though it does sort of take away from your message. But the would you be, again, I would say when suits for a chat and then give them actual examples of when works. If your team needs that sort of like, again, that sort of language, the maybes and the perhapses. So, yeah, I would have a much clearer call to action and really tailor it more to the people. I'm following up and if my earlier note was buried. That's sort of me back into my I'm just following up situation. It's not as bad, okay, I'm gonna forgive you. Um, again though, it's very much generic in terms of not tailoring it to a certain person. I do quite like that there's a quote here, but and I hope that they've sent it to someone in the Boston area, and that's why we've got the quote here. If that is tailored, then that's even more. If you're available, I'd love to show you how we can make a model work for you and the entire team. Would you be open to a quick conversation? Again, there's going to be just such a theme here. Now, I do love that it's a question mark, but again, it's when suits for a conversation. I know this would be useful for you. You will get more confident with this if you actually tailor your outreach to people that you know are relevant as well. So I think that's part of the problem maybe here, that we're not tailoring it to people that we definitely know are interested in, digital PCR or whatever. Okay, so this is we're reaching out to a biotech or a pharmaceutical that's way into the phase. So they are referencing a clinical trial phase that they've moved into. So this is why you're reaching out. It's obviously timely because they're reaching out at the time that they've moved into that. So they've set an alert to say, let me know whenever that happens, which is awesome. It knows that you're interested in it. It shows why they are interested and why they're good. We'd be delighted to explore how you can please suggest a contingent team to connect. So actually, I was with you until the end, and you know what I'm going to say. But yeah, don't put it onto them. But actually, I quite like that you have tailored it to them, shown what value you'll add, and then you just need to have a stronger call to action. Then I'd be so interested to see what you do with the follow-ups there as well, to see how often you get in there and how many people we send it to as well, because there's going to be more than one person that you can send this to within that organization. The fact that I have to pause a second to read it kind of already tells you that it's too long, doesn't it? We'd love to learn more about challenges your team face. Would it be possible to speak to someone at your research development team? Question mark. Or I can send over a slide deck out and like so two call to actions. Probably too long to be honest. You want to tailor it more to them. You haven't mentioned why. Like we believe this technology could complement. Again, that sort of perhaps maybe sort of language again. We know this technology. We've done it before with people like you and reference what that technology is that I've actually read your message and then clear call to action, one call to action. You know, keep the other call to action for your follow-up as well. How are you is an interesting one actually. So studies have shown that how are you does increase the likelihood of people responding if it's a follow-up email. I know I've spoken to them before, but it decreases the likelihood if it's cold email. Gong is really good at doing data analysis and knowing what works just because they look at the data for everything. So that's what they said in their latest report. Wanted to share I've actually switched from okay, cool. So you're valid because you were a scientist. You're not just a crazy salesperson. No rush. I don't like because you're not actually creating urgency. Creating urgency is awesome. You're not just curious. Again, you're taking this all back again here. So it's more like I'd love to get your opinion on this. I'd love to pick your brain on this. I'd love to get your feedback on this. But I think still creating the urgency. You don't want to say no rush. If you say no rush to anyone, they'll not do anything. Thanks so much. It would be great to have a chat. Far too passive. We all know that now. I probably don't need to go through that again. Hope this message finds you well. Wanted to introduce yourself. Perfect. I'm excited. Okay, grand. Well now we're kind of getting a bit long here. What is in it for me? What am I actually doing here? Okay, I already know what your company does because I obviously work with you. Like, I'm happy to help. Look forward to connecting soon. No one is going to write at the bottom of that email. So yes, hey, wanted to introduce myself. I am your new person to work with you. I can help with, or I wanted to let you know these. Oh, I wanted you to know this one main thing that is adding value to my email. So that might be like, we've just launched a new silence agent that will follow you around on the website and bring the scientific data into LinkedIn or your CRM. I'd be delighted to show you it. Are you free for a quick call next Tuesday? Like, think of a reason why they want to actually reach out to you. Have you got money left over for the end of the year and you want to spend it? I'd love to chat to you free on Tuesday. Or, you know, get a reason for them. Why are you reaching out to them? Why would it help them? No offense, they don't want to just meet you just because you're their new rep. Um, that it's funny, Sophie, how you've like taken out all of the branding in real time. It's awesome. Thank you for connecting. How are you? As you may know, I may work for. Want to know if you have some time this week to chat with me to see if there's anything I can do to help your current workflow. Just a question. Is there anything I can do to help with your current workflow? I understand you're in your team. I do like the mistake, although I don't know if that was intentional, but if it was, you get points for that for sure. I understand you and your team focus on fluorescent microscopy and other imaging methods. I've previously worked in pharma, so I can share so helpful insight. Please let me know. I look forward to speaking with you. Okay, we're sort of there, but it's more like, hey, I read your research and I'm really interested in your fluorescence microscopy. It's part of my background as well. Are you free for a chat on Tuesday? I'd love to find something to, if there's anything to do with improve your current workflow. And in fact, actually flip that round so that the free on Tuesday is the last one. So the content's kind of there, but it's just still passive. Then let me know. Maybe that needs to be in the banned words. I think it needs to be. Let me know needs to be banned as well. Not sure if you're aware, but I know work as a technical spell. I want to thank you again for your assistance to help me find work since you're still ahead of biology. I was curious to know if you and your team are again, hey, I know I work here, great to see you again. And I mean, they know. I feel like this is you try to tailor it to them, but it's like kind of a wee bit like, since you have blue eyes, I wanted to know. They know that they're the head of biology. So it's not a great way to tailor it. It would be more like, since you're interested in new imaging technologies. Are you free for me to have a call and talk to you about it? I don't know if I would actually say after the holidays, honestly. What I would prefer to do is try to get in before the holidays to create urgency and then just don't email them. Like, you won't catch me sending any emails next Tuesday onwards. Even like our neuroscience follow-ups. There's just no point. There's no point sending them now because neuroscience is still happening. There's no point sending them on Monday because nobody's heads in the game. So we'll just actually hold those follow-ups. They'll just be a waste of our time, and we'll send them the week after when the guys are back from Thanksgiving. Otherwise, it would just be a wasted effort. Sometimes we fall into this trap of doing these tick box exercises to send things out, and we're like, okay, I sent that email, but like, who cares if you don't get a reply? Don't send it. Did we do this one already? Because there was a muscular one already. No, just a very similar one with muscles and neurons. They're all starting to blend into one. I'm sure we're just saying similar stuff now. We'd love to learn about the challenges your team faces. You see this we and I will work actually much better. People are much more responsive if you talk as you as a person. It's easier to ignore a we. It's easier to ignore a company. It's much harder to ignore an actual person. It's why people actually put their faces on emails as well. Now I haven't seen the actual emails here because Sophie's kindly beavering in the background, typing them all out. But if you actually put your image there, you'll get a better response rate because you're a real life person and they're ignoring your wee face, especially when you're putting the question mark at the end. I appreciate we're over time, but I'll keep going for those of you that are still here. And for those of you that need to drop off, it'll be recorded anyway. If I haven't got to yours, I'll send it to you in an email. Hope you're doing well. We do this. We work with these. Okay, cool. Haven't told me why you're messaging me. And then again, now far too much. So I'm messaging you because blah. We'll be at Sitsi next week. Brilliant. Tell me the booth number. That's great. Would you be free? Would you have 15 minutes for a quick chat during the conference? They do have. When suits for a 15-minute chat during the conference? Or even better, does it suit you better on Tuesday or Wednesday to chat at the conference? So why are you messaging them? Lovely with the name dropping. Lovely with the things. And then, but I really ideally would want to know that you've looked me up and you know that I'm going to be at Fitzy. And I mean, I don't know, bring cake because apparently that's the thing now. Hope you're well. Reaching out where we support research development. You may already be familiar with our involvement. Again, that's a bit vague. It's not as nice as the last one where you can actually like list things that you've done. Very happy to invite you for a visit to see our facilities. That's actually a really nice call to action. It's just not strong enough, but as a concept, it's quite cool. No pressure or expectation, simply an opportunity. Okay. If this sounds useful, I would be glad to arrange suitable time. It's all very passive, like, hey, would you be interested in a tour of our facilities? Unfortunately, you kind of need two call to actions here a little bit. When, we're organizing it next Wednesday, at 3 o'clock. Are you able to attend on this day? Question mark, that sort of thing. So it's actually quite a cool idea that you would actually invite people to see your thing. It's quite a unique call to action. I put that in the subject line. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, you're referencing that you're following my work, so that is good. You notice that they're strategic partnerships, cool. So this is timely. That's why you're reaching out. Awesome. You're telling me what you're doing, cool. Beyond that, you're dropping things, cool. Probably getting a wee bit long here, but okay. You'd be happy to set up a brief call. Of course you'd be happy to. Learn more about your initiatives, blah 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 blah. Thank you for your time. Ah, you were so started off so well. So the deer I wouldn't bother with. I've done loads of A/B testing and how it works so much better. And I would probably try to cut down the words here, but the general concept is good. And then you would, of course, you'd be happy to set up a call because you're trying to sell to them. Does it suit next Tuesday to set up a call? Leave the question. Don't say look forward to connecting. Leave the question hanging there. Make sure you do your follow up. I'm reaching out because your work. Okay, stunning. You know why you're reaching out to them. Yeah, that's what you do. Perfect. Nice and short. If you're open to it, just literally, I mean, just wanted to, sorry, that was just, there we go, much better. Oops. I'd love to hear about how you're currently imaging your experiments, see what blah 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 blah. So it's like, could we connect sometime next week? I'm available anytime. Again, you're not available anytime. You're very, very busy. You're very important. You have so many people to speak to. You've got 2 slots that you're free. And it's not Steve could whether it would help, because that's then sort of wasting their time because you're introducing it out there, show you how it could help. Does next Tuesday. I'd love to show you how our instrument could help with blah. Are you free on Tuesday or Wednesday? That's probably the closest though so far. That's really nice about the vacation time. Hopefully they actually did. This must be a European that has put this through. Otherwise, yeah, it is actually they've spelled tumor with the U. You can just tell the Americans wouldn't assume that someone was off. So you are made up name. That's cool. Reproducibility. Are you 100% satisfied? They're getting a bit like salesy now. So yeah, for me, it would be a bit more clear about what you actually do and not, again, not if you're open to a brief chat, please let me know a convenient time and I'll send it invite. Do you see now why I get annoyed? Look at all of these emails. They're all the exact same. And one simple wee tweak at the bottom will change. Just for the person here that is sending this for you, because you are European, if you're sending this to Americans, you're going to want to adjust that because it'll be very obvious that you haven't tailored it to them as well. But it doesn't entirely matter. Hello, name, wanted to trade. Yep, you don't. Okay, so I assume this is why this is the company that I'm in. So I actually would put this at the very top, just getting really quickly to say we've already worked with you. And I wouldn't actually then put doubt in here. So I would just be like, hey, we work with you. We'd love to catch up. When suits. Does next Tuesday work for you? Awesome. 2 call to actions there, but all good. And then you do your lovely call to action and you put your random sentence in and take away from your question. Okay, there, the one more. So, hi, handsome. Want to introduce myself, your account manager. I'd love to learn more about your current workflow. It looks like your team is introduced. Again, I would have that at the start. Quick in. This is why I'm messaging you because actually your team has included some of the kits in previous orders. I'll be visiting the area on December, not the area, I'll be visiting insert place that they are on the week of December 8th. I would be more specific. I've got 2 free slots on Tuesday and Wednesday. Are you free? Would Tuesday morning or Wednesday afternoon work best? Question mark. Again, stop this here. I think you get the drift. I will send across the slides. I appreciate that we ran over, so thanks to all of you that are still here. Awesome. And if you have any questions as well, or you didn't submit through your email and you want to just send it to me on LinkedIn so it doesn't get all muddled in my emails because I'll think that you're just trying to sell to me and not realize that you want me to critique your email. So send it to me on LinkedIn so it doesn't get lost, and I will go through and rewrite it how I would do it. And I'll tell you right now, I'm going to make it shorter. I'm going to tell people while you're reaching out to them, and I'm going to have one clear call to action at the end with a question mark. And if you're sending LinkedIn messages, the exact same thing applies. And please, if they don't reply, keep following them up. And I am going to leave you all there. I have a lot of questions here about AI. What I might do is actually do a separate session on that going forward. A very quick answer to can this be done with AI? The answer is if you have the right prompt and you have the right data, then anything can be done with AI. What I will tell you is we have an AI tool on Sileads. And when I say that that prompt is like pages and pages and pages long, written by multiple AI engineers, and we've been doing that over the last 6 months, and we iterate it every week. If we are still trying to nail that messaging and we know what the messaging should be and automate that, then there's no way that ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever you're using is going to do that with your like individual prompts right now till we get more sophisticated. So hypothetically, yes, you will be able to do this with AI, but you need to have a really awesome prompt and you need to have really awesome data to personalize it. In the meantime, it will speed you up. You will be able to even use our tool or another tool, get the bones of it, and then go and fix it. Make sure you have your call to action, make sure you see it. So that's kind of where we're at the minute, I think. I'll let you all go. It's kept me for too long. I'll send you the slides, and yeah, lovely to speak to you. Thank you for all of the feedback there. Lovely. Bye.